You have not come here simply to listen with your ears, but to feel with the trembling strings of your inner being. What we are about to enter is not confined to intellect or reason, it belongs to the hidden corridors of the psyche, where shadows wander, where light flickers, where pain itself is not a barrier but a threshold. I want to speak to you as though you were standing before me, each carrying within your chest an unspoken history of endurance, the silent weight of having borne another's darkness. For those who have walked the labyrinth of the narcissist and emerged alive, survival is not the end of the tale. It is only the doorway. For when the poison has been absorbed, when one's essence has been hollowed by the hunger of another, what remains is not simply ruin. It is the possibility of a new form rising from the ashes. And so the real question emerges: who does the empath become after this descent, after this soul crucifixion, after enduring what many cannot even name? To begin, we must ask, what does it truly mean to be an empath in the Jungian sense? It is not merely about feeling too much, nor about having delicate emotional skin. It is something far deeper. The empath is one chosen, often unconsciously, to act as a vessel for what others cannot bear: projections, unspoken wounds, denied shadows. Most empaths are not born into balance. From childhood, they live in atmospheres thick with tension and unspoken fear. They learn to read moods like weather, to sense the currents in a household before a word is spoken. Sensitivity becomes survival, an instinctive strategy to restore harmony in chaos. By becoming the mirror, they protect themselves, reflecting back what others refuse to acknowledge. It is no coincidence, then, when the narcissist enters their life. This is not random, it is archetypal magnetism. Ancient forces pulling two opposite poles together. The narcissist. The mask of denied shadow, forever hungry, feeding on others to maintain an image of godlike perfection. The empath, the vessel who absorbs, who carries, who swallows what the narcissist will never admit. And here lies the crucible. To carry the narcissist's darkness is no small ordeal. It means taking into your bloodstream a venom that was never yours. Guilt projected onto you. Shame planted like a parasite. Rage seated in your chest that does not belong to you. This is the beginning of dissolution, the hall of mirrors, where reality itself seems stolen, and the narcissist insists that truth is only what their mask proclaims. But in that very breaking, in that dissolution, something archetypal stirs. A deeper journey begins, the wounded healer's path, the shamanic descent into the underworld, the dismemberment of ego so the soul may awaken to its hidden vocation. When you survive such an ordeal, you are not the same as when you entered it. The empath who first stepped into the labyrinth does not return unchanged. There has been a death, and with it, the possibility of rebirth. To carry the narcissist's shadow, to wrestle with their poison, is to be broken open. If you are not consumed entirely, you are transformed. For the unconscious, which demanded this trial, also concealed within it the seed of metamorphosis. What is survival if not alchemy? The lead of suffering, the quicksilver of confusion, the sulfur of rage, all boiling together in the psychic vessel until something new is forged, gold. So again we must ask, who do you become? You become the one who has known darkness, not as theory but as intimacy. The one who no longer fears the abyss, for you have dwelt within it. The one whose compassion is no longer naive, whose light is no longer unguarded, but whose presence carries the weight of one who has walked among devils and returned with eyes that pierce through masks. To capture this truth, imagine a dream. A woman sits at a grand banquet. The tables overflow with food and golden cups of wine. But when she eats, the food turns to ash in her mouth, and the wine becomes blood. She looks around, every guest wears a mask, laughing, smiling, but beneath, hollow sockets and gnashing teeth. In terror she rips the mask from her own face, and sees in her reflection not emptiness, but radiance, scarred, yet luminous. She wakes trembling, knowing she has glimpsed a terrible and beautiful truth. This is the banquet of the narcissist. To eat illusion until it crumbles into ash. To taste bitterness disguised as love. To strip away the mask and find beneath it a face marked by pain but shining with authenticity that cannot be faked. Make no mistake, emerging from the grip of the narcissist does not leave you untouched. There are wounds, and those wounds ache. You may carry the weight of hypervigilance, distrust, the phantom echo of a voice that once insisted you were never enough. Yet these wounds are not meaningless scars. They are inscriptions carved into your being, symbols that say, you have endured initiation. For survival is never the avoidance of pain. True survival is the ability to carry pain until it begins to speak its meaning. The empath who has crossed this threshold becomes more than merely sensitive. They become a bearer of shadow knowledge. They no longer simply feel, they know. They know the scent of deception before words are spoken. They recognize the taste of false love. They can sense manipulation in the air like smoke before the fire has appeared. And though this gift is costly, it is no small gift at all. You may ask, why must it be this way? Why must the empath suffer the narcissist's darkness in order to awaken? Because the unconscious seeks balance. The narcissist cannot bear their own shadow, so they project it outward. And it must land somewhere. The empath, shaped since childhood to absorb what is not theirs, becomes that container. Yet the unconscious never leaves them there forever, it drives them toward a breaking point, a moment of collapse where the poison can no longer be endured. And in that collapse, when identity itself splinters, the psyche seizes the chance to reorganize at a deeper level. This is individuation, the birth of the true self, not the self demanded by others, not the self defined by masks, but the self that waits beneath. It is a perilous passage. Many are shattered by it. But those who emerge find a clarity and strength that cannot be taught by comfort, only by descent into darkness. In the old texts of alchemy, there is a stage called nigredo, the blackening. It is the descent into dissolution, where all forms decay, where matter rots, where light disappears. And yet, it is in this very darkness that the seed of transformation is planted. The empath who has absorbed the narcissist's shadow knows this stage intimately. They feel stripped of worth, hollowed out, emptied of identity. It feels like death itself. But if they can endure, if they do not remain lost in illusion, then something stirs in the black soil. From the putrefaction, a hidden bloom begins to push upward. Out of the dark earth rises the white rose. This is the mystery of the empath's survival. They pass through their own death, not literal, but psychic. And in that inner death, they are reshaped. So who do they become? They become alchemists of their own suffering. They learn to transmute agony into wisdom, confusion into discernment, rage into fuel. They no longer give their soul away without measure, for they know now the cost of such sacrifice. And paradoxically, in having carried another's shadow, they themselves have become more whole. Yet here lies the paradox, to survive does not guarantee transformation. Many make it through the narcissist's labyrinth, but they emerge brittle, turn to stone rather than transmuted into gold. The danger is real. Having endured betrayal and manipulation, the empath may close their heart completely. They may harden into cynicism, trusting no one, building walls so high that nothing, light or shadow, can ever enter again. This is survival, yes, but it is a survival that has calcified, frozen, unable to grow. This is not individuation. This is stagnation. The true alchemy is far more demanding. It asks the empath not only to endure suffering, but to digest it, to allow it to cook in the inner vessel until it yields something new. To survive is to escape the fire, to transform is to become the fire. Here the empath stands at a crossroads. One path leads to bitterness, isolation, the endless replay of old wounds. The other path leads deeper into mystery. Into integration, wholeness, the courage to carry both shadow and light without denial. For survival alone is not the destination. It is only the threshold. Individuation is not about becoming perfect, nor about escaping pain. It is the unfolding of the true self, the center that holds both shadow and light, both wound and gift. For the empath who has endured the crucible, individuation means no longer being defined solely as the healer, the giver, or the absorber. It means becoming a complete being, unbroken in their wholeness. To individuate is to say, I am not only my compassion, I am also my rage. I am not only my sensitivity, I am also my strength. I am not only the light I offer others, but also the darkness I have carried and survived. This is the paradoxical gift of having known the narcissist. By absorbing what was never theirs, by wrestling with shadows too heavy to bear, the empath has been forced into a confrontation with their own depths. And in that confrontation, they discover not fragility, but resilience, not helplessness, but hidden power. Here, the empath ceases to be a passive vessel. They no longer simply take in what others cast off. Instead, they become a conscious alchemist, choosing what to hold, what to release, what to transform. They stand rooted in a center that cannot be stolen, because it was forged in the furnace of suffering. This is individuation, not escape from the darkness, but the marriage of darkness and light. The empath, once fractured, becomes whole, radiant not because they are untouched, but because they are scarred and shining all at once. From this crucible the empath does not return as they once were. They emerge as something archetypal, the wounded healer. Their scars are not hidden, they are the very source of their medicine. They know pain not as an idea, but as lived reality. They know what it is to be emptied, to be deceived, to be consumed by another's hunger, and yet to endure. And because of this, their presence carries an authenticity that no mask can imitate. When they speak of compassion, it is not naive sentiment, it is born from having suffered. When they recognize manipulation, it is not paranoia, it is intuition sharpened in fire. When they offer guidance, it is not theory, it is wisdom distilled from descent and return. Thus the empath becomes more than a survivor. They become a guide for others still wandering in the labyrinth. Their very being says, I have walked through the darkness you fear, and I have returned with light. Not the fragile light of innocence, but the steady glow of one who has faced annihilation and found themselves reborn. This is the gift, and the burden, of the empath's journey. They carry both the wound and the remedy. They embody the truth that only those who have faced the abyss without flinching can help others face their own. And so the story does not end with survival. Nor even with transformation. It ends with vocation, the calling to stand as witness, healer, and alchemist for a world that hides from its shadows. The empath becomes the one who says, I know the darkness. I have carried it. And because I have carried it, I now shine with a light that is unbreakable.